Hello, I hope you're well and excited for the holidays, because today I'm going to be showing you my December bullet journal setup. First, let me just show you the supplies that I'm going to be using. Now, I don't actually end up using all of these, and I do add a few things here and there, so this is sort of what I'm planning to be using for this setup. And now that we have everything we need, it's time to get started. And here I'm doing that by getting these lettering stickers and spelling out December. Now, I have been working on my lettering, but if I'm honest, it's definitely not where I want it to be, so for my title pages, I like to use lettering stickers. I'm using silver because my color scheme for this title page is going to be silver and blue. You will see more of that in a second. And when I had that down, it was time to start the fun part, which is the doodling. I haven't been doing much drawing in the last few years, so I decided not to go for anything too complex since I'm just getting into it. So I went with these sort of fun, very doodly, very sort of light sketchy Santa heads. And I'm drawing them freehand, honestly, not because I'm feeling super confident or anything in my drawing capabilities, it's just because I couldn't find my pencils and erasers, so the only thing I could really do was draw them freehand and hope for the best. They're definitely not perfect, but I don't know, I feel like that makes them a little bit more whimsical and fun, so I'm actually quite happy with how everything came together. To make things a little bit more interesting, I added a little bit of texture to their beards and mustaches and, well, hair, and sometimes a little bit to the eyebrows, if I ended up drawing them with eyebrows, that is. And I also tried to vary their facial expressions and the way their hats look. Once I was happy with the number of Santas that I had on there, I filled in the rest of the space with some Santa hats in random sizes and positions. To be honest, I actually enjoyed drawing the Santa hats quite a bit more than I actually enjoyed drawing the Santas. In any case, once I had the pattern down the way I wanted it to be, it was time to start coloring things in, which is another really fun part for me. I don't know, I feel like adding color just sort of makes things come alive a little bit more, unless you're going for a black and white drawing, of course, but I wasn't, so it definitely did make things come alive for me. And this is also the moment where you see the blue in my blue and silver color scheme. I used a lot of different shades of blue here to make things a little bit more interesting and to give things a little bit more dimension, I guess. I'm not sure if you can really say that doodles have dimension, but I just really like the way different shades of the same color look together. As you can see, I'm not coloring things in very thoroughly, and I'm sort of purposefully leaving some white space, and that's because I wasn't going for the perfectly drawn look, but rather for a sort of sketchy, doodly look instead. And I didn't actually color in any other parts of the drawing, again just because I thought it was fun to only keep the colors to the Santa hats. I felt like that kind of made them the focal point of the title page, and that was definitely the look I was going for. For the second half of my spread, I started off with another Santa doodle, but this one I made slightly bigger, and it came out a little bit more dwarf-like than Santa-like, but oh well. And I colored in the hat with silver to match the silver letters. Part of the spread is my looking forward to section, which I always add to my monthly spreads, because here I write down all the things I'm looking forward to for the month, and I find that it really helps me get excited for the month, because I tend to spiral into negative thinking more often than, well, positive thinking, so this is something that actually really helps me try to avoid that, just a little bit. And the rest of the spread I decorated with some of my washi tape, which is probably my absolute favorite stationery to use, so I tend to use it for most of my spreads. You will definitely see more of it in the rest of this setup. The next spread is my goals and review spread, which is pretty much self-explanatory. Basically, I write down my goals for the month and then I review how I did in terms of these goals at the end of the month. I find spreads like these really helpful because while I do have weekly and daily to-do lists, I find that it can be really nice to have bigger overall goals written down as well, and then sort of work towards placing smaller chunks of these goals in my weekly and daily to-do lists. Now this spread I decorated in a more scrapbooky style, and I do keep going in this particular style for the rest of this setup, using a lot of different stationery elements, a few photos, and adding a few of my doodles just to make things a little bit more interesting here and there. Here the focal points are definitely the photo and the Santa hat doodle, but of course I couldn't leave the spread without adding some of my favorite washi tapes, and this is actually the spread where I ran out of one of my washi tape rolls. And this is actually the first roll of washi tape that I ever finished, so I don't know how I feel about that. I guess I used it a lot. This is definitely not the roll of washi tape I thought I would run out of first, but I guess because it's so thin, it's just so easy to use it without it overpowering a spread, so I ran out of this one. This next spread ended up being a really simple one, but I guess I just didn't know what else to add to it without cutting into my writing space too much. And this is one of these spreads that I find really helpful for my mental health, so I definitely didn't want to do that. Basically, this is my best of the month spread, and here I write down all of the best things about this month as it progresses. So anything from delicious food, memories, events, clothing, just anything that really makes a positive impression on me, and I wanted to write it down. And it really helps me to focus on the positive things rather than the negative things, and I actually don't let myself write any negative things in this spread, so I end up with a full spread of positive things about a particular month, even if it was a more negative month. And this is actually the spread that I would recommend adding to your journal the most if you struggle with negative thinking like I do. Anyways, getting back to the spread, as you can see, I decorated it really simply with a little bit of washi tape, a little bit of scrapbooking paper, and just a couple of Santa hat doodles. For this next spread, I felt like I hadn't done any Santa doodles in a while, so I wanted to add one in here, right in the center. I also added this very Christmas-themed piece of scrapbooking paper to the bottom of the spread to decorate it a bit more, and now that I saw that it had a sort of gold color scheme going on, other than the black and white of course, I decided to color the Santa hat in gold. And you may have noticed that I've been using gel pens to color in most of my doodles ever since the title page, and that's just because the gel pens bleed through my paper a lot less than the markers do, and also because I really like how sparkly they are. But I didn't want to use them on the title page because I've run into a problem where every once in a while my gel pen would just stop working. And I definitely didn't want to end up with a half-colored in Santa hat for my title page, but for the rest of my spreads I figure it wouldn't make as much of a difference because I tend to stick to just a few doodles per spread. As for what this spread is actually about, this is my perspective shift and self-care goals spread. Self-care goals is pretty much where I write down any goals related to self-care for the month, and my perspective shift though is where I write down things that were negative about the month in a sort of positive way. So I try to find the positive things about whatever negative things happened that month. I've only been using this spread for a month, but I've already found it very helpful, so I think I'm going to keep adding it to my monthly setups. And now we have reached what has to be my favorite spread from this entire setup other than my title page. I started off this spread with this Christmas-themed present photo, and this is actually a spread where I sort of went away from my blue and silver color scheme a little bit, just because I really liked the green colors in the photo and I wanted to echo them in the rest of the spread. So to decorate the spread, I ended up layering some green tissue paper as well as some sparkly silver paper with some green scrapbooking paper that says "Merry and bright this Christmas night," which I thought was a nice sentiment. And it definitely went with the whole Christmas theme I was going for in this spread and, well, pretty much this entire setup. I of course had to add some more Santa hat doodles to keep my theme going for this spread as well, but this time I filled them in silver to match the silver colors in the rest of the spread. And you probably know what's coming next, and it's washi tape. I mean, it's always washi tape with me. This time I'm using this black with sort of silver moons and stars washi tape, and this is actually a silver version of my favorite washi tape, which is black and gold. I have to say, I think I love the silver just as much as the gold, and it's actually one of only 2 silver washi tapes that I have, so I think I'm going to have to stock up. This next spread is black and red, and I based the color scheme around this black and red door image. Black and red is actually one of my favorite color combinations, just because I really love how dramatic and a little bit dark it looks, so I knew that I definitely wanted to add a black and red spread to the setup. Also, I kind of wanted to color in some Santa hats with red, just because that's their traditional color scheme, and I thought that this spread would be perfect for that. As for what I'm doing here, I thought that to match the dark colors in the spread, I would draw a sort of reverse Santa doodle, and I would draw it in white on black paper, but I made a mistake and I accidentally colored in the hat in blue, so I decided to leave it for a later spread. Instead, I chose to decorate this spread with my favorite roll of washi tape, which is this black and gold starry washi tape. And this is actually the moment when I ran out of my second roll of washi tape, which it's kind of funny that I ran out of 2 rolls for the first time during this setup. Never fear though, I had another roll of this washi tape ready to go just because I knew that I was going to run out because I use it so often. I actually especially enjoyed using this washi tape for this spread, just because I thought it matched the door image so perfectly, because the door image already has some gold stars over some of its darker portions. We're finally back to our blue color scheme for this next spread, and I started off by adding some blue paper as well as some blue tissue paper, and this sort of blue themed Christmas washi tape. And if I'm being honest, the real reason this spread is blue is just because I wanted to match the tape. I mean, I got this tape to use for Christmas, but I'm actually a little disappointed with how little I ended up using it so far. Maybe I'll remedy that a little bit more with my weekly spreads, but I don't know, I guess I didn't feel like using it for most of this setup for some reason, but I knew I wanted to use it for at least one spread, and this spread just happened to be it. And the rest of the spread is actually really simple, with a Santa doodle with another blue hat to match the blue colors in the spread, and a little bit of blue washi tape. And I'm not sure if you noticed, the video did skip ahead there for a little bit, and I'm really sorry about that. My memory card was full and I didn't notice that the camera stopped recording until a little bit later, so yeah, there's a little chunk missing there. And we are down to the last spread of the setup before I show you the final flip through. Of course, I had to use my mistakenly drawn blue hat Santa doodle here, because, well, it's the last spread. And to match the dark colors in the doodle, I ended up using some darker pieces of scrapbooking paper to decorate the spread a little bit more. And that pretty much left me with the idea of a blue and green color scheme for this spread, so I went with it. I layered some blue and green tissue paper with the elements that I had down on the spread so far, and I added some thin blue washi tape to decorate things a little bit more. And I was really feeling the layered look for this spread, so I decided to use more blue tissue paper for the title. Now this was also the moment when I realized that the Santa doodle was looking a little bit bland, so I decided to go for the hat again in some blue and white markers. And I definitely like it much better this way. And my final touch for this spread was another Santa hat doodle, also in blue, and surprise surprise, blue washi tape. So now let me just show you what all of the spreads in this setup look like together. I'm actually really happy with how this setup came out. I have to say though that my favorite spreads would have to be the title page and the green and silver spread. By the way, do you have a favorite spread from this setup? If you do, please let me know, I'm really curious. This setup was also very different from me because I ended up doodling a lot more than I usually do for my setups. This was definitely a challenge for me, especially when I tried to combine this extra doodling with my usual scrapbooky style for the rest of the setup. But I have to say, I'm really pleased with how everything came together, and I think that the doodling actually complements the scrapbooking style pretty well. So I think that I'm going to be doing this from now on a lot more often. In fact, I actually already have an idea for a more doodle-heavy setup for January as well, so stay tuned for that video, which I am probably going to be posting sometime early next month. Also, I'm curious if you have anything fun planned for the holidays. I realize that this year is definitely not ideal for fun holiday plans, but maybe you still have something fun going on. For me, I guess my holiday plans aren't all that exciting, but I'm still really looking forward to them. I'm actually going to take a few weeks off and spend as much time as I can with family, just because I haven't done that much in a while, and I think that it's going to be really awesome. Anyways, that was pretty much all I had to say, so I hope that you have a wonderful holiday season, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!